you guys are so much more expressive. I love this. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Where does the Methodist Church stand on abortion? Actually, the question's easier when you add, where does the Methodist Church stand? Brandi, can you Google the Book of Discipline for me real quick? Seriously, Brandi, you're just going to come around, hang out with me anytime I have to do this. First, switching gears a bit. Before I read what the Book of Discipline says, and Brandi's going to pull it up since I do not have the book memorized, abortion is an extremely sensitive and fragile and personal issue. And so before I go ahead and read the doctrine, I just want to say a word of I appreciate and I want to acknowledge how difficult that choice is if you've ever had to make it. If you know someone or you have personally made that decision, like God was with you in that moment and was struggling with you in that moment. Have you found it for me? Okay. How many of you are familiar with the Methodist way of organizing our lives? Or any? Okay, so good, I'm going to explain it. Okay, so we have this book that's called the Book of Discipline. Fantastic name, right? Who wants to read that book, the Book of Discipline? It's actually a very helpful book. I highly encourage, it's available online, so you can Google it. But here's what's helpful about it. It is the book that explains how we as the United Methodist Church organize our lives, what we believe, what is distinctive about our denomination. Now, I believe that all Christians are the church. So within that, because we don't all agree on the globe, we don't all agree about how Scripture is organized, different denominations have formed because of that. And so the Book of Discipline is where we organize our lives as a part of the Methodist Church. But my favorite part of the Book of Discipline, because I'm a nerd, is the social principles, which are amazing. I highly encourage you to read them. What they do is they basically have written down how we have decided to organize ourselves in the 21st century, right? Because Scripture is extremely important, and I highly encourage that you read through it, wrestle through it, engage in your relationship. Your relationship with God will be shaped by these words. But this book doesn't speak about every single thing that we have to face in 2017. And so what the social principles are is they have basically added voice to the things that we wrestle with in this century. Oh, I don't know your password. I'm not going to ask you to shout it out in the room. But so the social principles speaks about things like the environment. If you're curious about what the Methodist Church says about the environment, or everything, it just says about everything. Okay, so according to the social principles, which is found in the Book of Discipline 161, the church says, our belief in the sanctity of unborn human life makes us reluctant to approve abortion, but we are equally bound to respect the sacredness of the life and well-being of the mother and the unborn child. What this highlights for us is the complexity of human challenges. And so the Methodist Church does not formally endorse or sanction the getting of abortions. That being said, the church also acknowledges the complexity of this situation and does not want to stand in judgment. So, as Christians, there are ways that you are capable of disagreeing about things. And the denomination also acknowledges that people within the Methodist Church will disagree about this. And that's not a point of whether you can belong or not. That's not a point of you must agree in order to be a part of the Methodist Church. The church affirms that life does happen at conception, but it also does not want to be in the business of shaming people who have had to make that really difficult choice. And so actually what the church chooses to do, instead of picketing or instead of some of the more violent acts of protest, what they do is they get involved in adoption and they provide counseling for women who are trying to go through the decision. So there are ways to engage on fragile and difficult topics that we might not all agree on. And at least officially, the Methodist Church wants to be a place of grace and walking with people through those difficult times. Okay. Thank you. Okay, next question.